Okay, here we go. Hey, you guys. So tonight, we're going to talk about the compensation plan. One of my favorite things to talk about. And I had a meeting this afternoon, or actually this morning, with a relatively new builder. And there were hidden gems in the compensation plan that even he didn't know about. So,
and he's an accountant.
And he's an accountant. So my belief is, and you guys have heard me say this before, some of you, that you absolutely must know how you get paid. Because for those of us who, I would count myself in the past tense, for those of us who have a job, are still working in the work world, you almost certainly know how you get paid there. So why would you not know or understand completely how you get paid in Isagenix? I'm one of those people. I've got to know. Okay, I'm here. This is where I want to go. How do I get there? Because this is a way to create unlimited income. In the truest sense of the word, unlimited income, residually for life. And even on Wall Street, I didn't have that. What's crazy about this is there's zero risk, and 80% of what you do, 80% of where we spend our time is just connecting with people. Following up, connecting, following up, 80% of our time. So just ask yourself, why wouldn't you have the same intimate level of understanding how you get paid here as you do your job? So tonight, there are going to be 3 components, and we're going to highlight them. Again, each one of them we could train in depth, but in 30 minutes, there's just simply isn't going to be time. Julie! Oh my God, girl.
Yeah, baby.
Seriously, that's awesome. I don't know how you're doing it.
We doing it, baby, you know?
You're doing it.
So thanks for the support. Let's get on with how we make money. So.
Okay, baby.
Thank you. Keep praying. Let's go.
I like that you're keeping the main thing, but
That's exactly right. Listen, the only reason I can do what I'm doing right now and prepare and help other people is because of Isagenix.
You go, girl.
So okay. Let's go on, Mark, because I'm anxious to hear this.
Okay, babe. So tonight there's going to be a high level kind of an overview of the Isagenix opportunity. We're going to talk about the initial bonuses, which is essentially you share, they share, repeat. And then true financial freedom, which is the residual income and reentry. We're going to move through each fairly quickly, again, because we have 30 minutes and each one of them could be broken out and I could train on them individually, but I'm not going to do that tonight. Any questions that you have as we go, just post them in the comments field. I'll capture them and answer them in a document and post them on TMA in the file section, okay? So anything that you don't understand, just post in the comments field, okay?
And every question's valuable.
Yeah, and as Lynn just said, every question's valuable. Whatever you don't get, 100% cool, because I love answering questions about the compensation plan. I want to compliment each one of you for your courage, your wisdom, and your prescience for choosing Isagenix and for making the decision to build a business at whatever level. Because in doing so, you've seen what this can be, and you've jumped in. And it's not easy being a pioneer. But what's going to happen is it's not going to be long before others will look at you as if you have a crystal ball. It's coming, you guys. I promise you, it's coming, and it's not that far away. I actually think it's already starting to happen. So, as most of you already know, some of you don't. Lynn and I are finance people, and we are comfortable with numbers. We love numbers, and we're comfortable with risk because, as recovering Wall Streeters, both of us now, I can include that in that group. Risk is what we dealt with all day, every day. And so when we first became involved And I have to credit Lynn with actually jumping on a plane, going out to Isagenix, and to find out more about what this was. The net result of that, many things, but focus tonight, we had multiple conference calls with Scott Luther, who was the CFO at the time. And essentially what we did over 3 weeks with spreadsheets and as I said, multiple conference calls, we pulled that comp plan apart brick by brick. Because we had to. We didn't understand it. We'd never seen it before. We didn't know about network marketing. We needed to understand. And the only way we could do that was in spreadsheets, because we could include all the what if scenarios and ask a million questions, which we did, because we didn't understand how we made money without even knowing that we made money. And in so doing, we realized that this was probably the most brilliant and simple business construct that we'd ever seen. An amazing way to create income by leveraging partnership with the company, Isagenix. And so what happened then was we went to work. We started to share. We got excited. We were already excited. But then we started to share intentionally. Last week, some of you who were on the ISA Warrior call with Herb Cepeda, I'm just going to kind of highlight some of the points that Herbie made, because he's been in our profession now 30 years. And it's amazing when you think that many people try to start network marketing companies. 80% fail within the first 18 months. 1 in 1,000 make it past 5 years. Only a handful make it to $1 billion a year and sustain it. Not having had any experience in the network marketing profession and leading on leaders in our company and experienced professionals who have been in this profession for a long time, many are projecting us to be one of the top 10 network marketing companies in the world in the next 10 years. In the next 3 years, sorry. In the next 3 years.
Think about that.
Think about that. It's a $167 billion industry. Top 10 within the next 3 years. We're 15 years in business. The average age of other companies who have achieved that level of success is 60. So we've been around a quarter of the time. Even adding in the next 3 years, we're not even at a third of the time in the industry, and we're projecting the same level of success. It's extraordinary. It really is extraordinary.
So that means they're going to have quite a ride on the rocket.
So what I love about that, many things, is it's still a blue sky opportunity. And actually, anyone who you're talking to today, anyone who you're connecting with, anybody that you're reaching out to, the most interesting thing happened this morning while I was on the elliptical. I'm listening to Zach and Eden talk about how to create consultants. And Lynn says to me from the treadmill, she's listening to Jess Rayner. And Jess says, if I had any, who's an Isagenix millionaire, if I had anything to do over again, I would make sure that every single conversation I surfaced, I brought up, I introduced the opportunity. In some way, shape, or form, I introduced the opportunity. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. So you guys, there are many other plans out there. And all of them are essentially variations on a few basic plans. There are a lot of companies that still start using old plans. None of them work well for the masses of people. None of them, as Jimmy says, are fully democratic. What's exciting about the Isagenix compensation plan as a binary, your enrolling sponsor places you on one of their teams. So that shared team, on that shared team, you become the long-term and direct beneficiary of all that your enrolling sponsor does. Every other compensation plan, you're pretty much on your own. That is something that you need to sit with for a few minutes, because it's an extraordinary fact. It's an extraordinary dynamic, as we're going to see as we get into some of the nitty-gritty. Many people will ask you if this is an MLM. And excitingly, you can say no, it's not a multi-level marketing company, because the Isagenix compensation plan has no levels. It pays to infinite depth, 6%. And knowing that about your compensation plan, you're then able to roll up your sleeves and have a conversation with a network marketer. The net effect of that is that there is truly a team building dynamic. You can truly leverage your team, and your team can leverage you. The whole reason that we're in this profession is word of mouth. And I know for me, the idea that initiating something that's good, like products that change your life, products that change lives of those that you most love, you want to share. And once you initiate something that's good, you want to be associated with a company that will reward you for sharing by word of mouth. Okay? And you want them to reward you whether it's level 2 or whether it's level 200,000. So Kathy's goal is to create more 6 and 7 figure earners than any other network marketing company that's been created. And so we're sitting on the cusp of a global expansion. So it's so exciting, you guys. Truly, truly, for that reason alone, we're just getting started. And anyone that you speak to today, they have a massive opportunity because we're just getting started. So I'm going to jump ahead real quickly, skip some of my notes, and go to the fundamental building block, which is you share, they share, repeat. And I know some of you on this call, probably most of you are familiar with it, but I'm going to highlight it anyway because it's the basic building block of our compensation plan, how we get started. You share, they share, repeat. So you open a wholesale account. You guys, can you see this? Just thumbs up, yes or no? Okay, good. Sort of ish, right? Let's get it a little bit closer. Is that better? I'll take screenshots and post them, okay? So you open a wholesale account and you start as a customer or as an associate. And as an associate, you are associated with the company. You're not obligated to do anything. You're not a distributor. You're not a salesperson. You're simply a consumer of product, right? You have a great product experience and you decide to share with your mom because she notices, and your best friend. You started with a value pack simply because it has the greatest assortment of product, and you want to have all the tools that you need in order to have the most successful product experience. You've got vitamins, you have the essential products, and you also have snacks, okay? So you open your wholesale account, you share with your mom, you share with your best friend, and you start them exactly the same way that you started, which is with a value pack. Now, Isagenix rewards you by saying thank you. They love the referral, and by virtue of the fact that this is word of mouth, your referral bonus for a value pack is $80. Now, if you if you enroll, if you help 2 people get started within the same business week, your $80 thank you goes to $160 for your mother and $160 for your best friend. So, and you've achieved the first leadership level, which is consultant. Super cool. So now what you've done is you've created a triangle simply by sharing with 2 people that you care about. So let's look at the money that you've earned back on your initial investment. So 160 plus 160 plus $50 by moving from associate to consultant, you've now made $370. So on your initial purchase of approximately $600, you've earned back $370. Not terrible. What happens next? So this is you share, and now your mom, who looks and is starting to feel amazing, she's starting to look amazing, her clothes fit better, she has more energy, she sleeps better, she can't help but share with 2 friends, and your best friend, exactly the same thing. Don't worry, Ellen. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this so you don't have to get it down in perfect notes, okay, Dawn? So your mother has shared with a 30-day system, which is our most popular getting started pack, and your best friend, the same thing. So what's really cool about Isagenix and part and parcel of the compensation plan, every product has a point value, has points associated with it, which is called business volume. Think of it as points, right? So the value pack has 320 business volume, has 320 points associated with it. And the 30-day system has 184 points associated with it. So as you move through, you've already accumulated $370, and by your mother sharing and your best friend sharing, you've now generated 2 consultants. You share, they share. So you become a triangle first, and then you create 2 triangles. Think of those 2 triangles as bricks. All you're doing is making brick after brick after brick in order to build the wall of your Isagenix business, simply by sharing. So in creating a consultant, Isagenix pays you $100 for your first 20 consultants. So for your mother who's shared with 2 people, and your best friend who shared with 2 people, to your $370, you add 100 and 100. So now you're at 570. And if you create those 2 consultants within the first 60 days after your enrollment, you've achieved the first leadership level in Isagenix, which is called Crystal Manager. Isagenix pays you an additional $250 as a bonus, as a reward for leading and sharing. So now you're at $820 cash back on your initial investment of approximately $600. The cool thing about this compensation plan, all you do is repeat over and over and over again. You make yourself a triangle by sharing with people that you care about, and then moving outside to share with people with intention, and then helping others do exactly the same thing. You share, they share, repeat. So Isagenix has tens of millions of dollars as your introductory bonuses. So recognizing that it takes time to get your business up and running, your focus in the beginning is simply to share product and to help other people feel as fantastic as you do. Even though we love the bonuses, we really, those of us on the call tonight who have chosen leadership and chosen to create an income at some level, what we really want to access is the residual income plan. So I'm going to move over to my other chart, you guys.
Ask them what they know, really in their heart what this is.
Okay, so question. Do you guys know, thumbs up, really in your heart what residual income is? Yes, yes, okay. So unlike a job where you have to do the work over and over again to create income, residual income, you do the work once and you get paid over and over.
So you enroll.
Yes. Somebody had a question? Okay. So you enroll your mother and you enroll your best friend, and they pay it forward by enrolling two people that they know and care about. Paying it forward, paying it forward, paying it forward. What I love about this model is that with each of the points that are associated with product, those associated points are called business volume, and they accumulate for each team, because everybody has two teams, in a left bank and a right bank. So every time someone sponsors someone, someone enrolls someone, someone pays it forward, there's a new enrollment, points are generated. Anytime anyone orders product or reorders product, points are generated, and that volume rolls up to your bank on your left team and your right team. Now, in order to get paid, we're paid on what's called a cycle. 900 points equal one cycle. 600 of those points have to come from one team and 300 have to come from another. We'll explain that a little bit more in a minute. But 900 points equals one cycle, which is $54. What happens when you become a consultant, when you make yourself a triangle, is you have opened yourself up to the residual income plan. It's the most exciting thing. So simply by sharing with two people, you're open for business. So that's fundamentally, at the most simplistic level, where the compensation plan begins. So that process over and over again is the goal. Okay, moving into the team concept, and I'm not going to have time to get into it, I realize.
Ask for everybody how much time.
You guys okay on time? Okay. What distinguishes, I mentioned this earlier, what distinguishes the Isagenix compensation plan from just about every other form of multi-level marketing or network marketing company concept compensation plan is it's a 2/3, 1/3 binary. So that means that 2/3 of your 900 points comes from one team, 600 points. 1/3 comes from your other team, your second team. Why does that matter? This was a tough concept for us, for Lynn and me, to wrap our heads around. When you join someone's team, your sponsor puts you on one team, either their left team or their right team. And that team that you share with your sponsor typically is the team that helps you generate your 600 BV increments. So every time you generate 900 points, remember what I said, every product, every pack has a point value associated with it. And every time your left bank and every time your right bank increments or adds points, the Isagenix business week is Sunday night midnight to Sunday night midnight Eastern time. The computer is going to look at your business center, and it's going to see how many points do you have on your left and how many points do you have on your right. So in this example, right, using the numbers that I have here, the points for the present, the value pack, and the points for the 30-day, the left bank's accumulated 688 and the right bank's accumulated 688. They're even. So the computer says, oh, great, I need to find 600 and 300. Left bank has 688. We'll take the 600 from that. The right bank's accumulated 688. We'll take 300 from that. That creates a cycle, 600 and 300. And almost every other company, once the 600 and 300 are deducted, the remaining volume will get flushed. Isagenix doesn't do that. Is this making sense? Yes? So far, so good? Let's see. Right. I'm not going to get in tonight, you guys. I'm not going to get into when they switch. You have to be a consultant. You have to be an associate, excuse me, right, in order to earn income. You have to be a consultant in order to earn income. I'm not going to get into the migration from customer to associate tonight. So, yeah, if everybody could mute. There we go. Hang on. Hang on.
The TV playing in the background.
I'm going to mute everybody. There we go. Okay. So, for every 900 points, you're going to cycle. In a 2/3, 1/3 binary, 600 has to come from one team, 300 has to come from another. Doesn't matter which team generates the 600 or the 300, the computer is going to find it wherever it is. Okay? So, in this particular model, where you've enrolled your mother and your best friend with a value pack, and your mother and your best friend have shared with 2 other people each, your total left bank is 688, your total right bank is 688. Computer takes 600 from the left, 300 from the right, you've cycled once, that's a total of 900 BV, one cycle, $54. Subtracts those numbers, and you have volume remaining on each side. And that volume will sit there and until more increments. It doesn't get flushed. Super important to realize that in our plan, because that is not the case with most compensation plans. So what we're looking for by repeating you share, they share over and over and over again is to keep adding volume by sharing to your bank. Okay? You with me, Ellen? All right. So moving over to the team concept, right? So this really is, so far we've focused on some of the initial bonuses, and we've used this particular illustration to highlight what's a cycle, the value of a cycle of $54, and how many points or business volume do you need in order to be able to generate a cycle. Okay? Team concept. The idea with our compensation plan is a lot of people doing a little bit. And simple process over and over and over again. Got it. So everybody has 2 teams, only 2. Not going to get into discussion. There are many compensation plans out there that require multiple teams. What's brilliant about Isagenix, as I said, keeping it simple, it pays to unlimited depth, 6%. And it doesn't matter whether you enroll them or whether somebody else to whom you're financially connected enrolls them. Super important to understand that. So whether you enroll them or whether somebody 1,000 levels below you enrolls them, you're financially. Here's me. This is my wholesale account. I've enrolled a couple people, and then Tim, Josh, and Ashley are 3 of my personally enrolled. And so what happens in a 2-team, in a binary compensation plan? Tim decides, oh my God, I've had the most fantastic product experience. I'd love to bring my sister in. So Tim, if you look at this essentially as a timeline, Tim enrolls his sister on his left team. The next available position is at the bottom. Josh decides that he's going to enroll a friend on his left team. The next available position is at the bottom. The same with Ashley. So Tim jumped in first because he said, hey, what do I have to lose? It's a 30-day money-back guarantee. I might as well get started. I don't feel great. And then Josh, and then Ashley. And then I decide, I come across Susie Cream Cheese. Susie Cream Cheese is a friend of mine. Tim, Josh, and Ashley have no idea who she is, right? And Susie Cream Cheese enrolls with a value pack, 320 BV. So that 320 BV blesses Ashley, blesses Josh, blesses Tim, all the way up to me, and on up. Now, what's really incredible about this is that the next person Tim enrolls is below Susie. Josh enrolls is below Susie. Ashley enrolls is below Susie. All of that volume is going to roll straight up. And so each of these people are financially connected. Tim and Josh and Ashley don't know each other, and they certainly don't know Susie Cream Cheese. She's my relationship, my personally enrolled. It doesn't matter because all of that volume touches each person. Now, is there value in jumping in and getting started? There absolutely is for Tim. What's really cool is Tim is going to benefit from anything that Josh does on either team. We all have 2 teams. So Tim decides he's in a fraternity, he's in college, so he enrolls some of his fraternity brothers on his lacrosse team. Josh is he's already out in the working world. He decides that he's going to enroll some of his working buddies on his right team. And Ashley is a dental hygienist, and she enrolled some of her work colleagues on her right. Tim is going to benefit because he jumped in here. He's going to benefit from everything Josh does on his left and right team, and Ashley everything on her left and right team, and the same with Susie Cream Cheese, all the way down. So anything below you, anyone that's enrolled after you, whether you're personally enrolled or not, you're going to benefit from the activity of both their teams. So there's incentive when you're talking to someone to getting started, should they decide that they want to participate and start to earn an income. Does that make sense? This is super powerful, you guys, because Tim is going to benefit 1,000 levels down. So let's say that Susie knows somebody in Australia, who knows someone in Malaysia, who knows someone in California who's a networker. And that networker looks at the binary compensation plan and says, oh my gosh, this company pays to unlimited depth, 6%. And that networker goes to town and they put 1,000 people on their team in 6 months. All of that volume is going to bless Susie, Ashley, Josh, Tim, all the way up to you. Does that make sense? It's so powerful because most companies, they're only going to pay to hear. If somebody enrolls someone, you haven't met this person below a certain level, in most compensation plans, you're not going to benefit from it. When I say that to people, they don't get it at first. But that is one of the most powerful components of our compensation plan, you guys. Okay, next, possibly one of my favorite things to talk about is reentry. Isagenix, again, unlike just about every other company out there, allows you to reenter. And you can reenter above yourself. So here's your first wholesale account, and you've built 2 teams. And Isagenix will pay you up to a maximum of 250 cycles in your first position. Now, the first time I saw this, I said to myself, I thought you said that Isagenix didn't cap us in terms of the amount of money that we could earn. And I remember Scott saying to me, he said, well, watch what happens. And this is actually
nothing else about the call. This is it.
Yeah, if you don't remember anything else about the call, this is truly magic. This is so powerful. So once your 2 teams are generating a maximum of 250 cycles, which is $13,500 a week. I know it seems like a lot. Sometimes it can feel like
it can happen.
An unachievable number of cycles. Remember, you share, they share, repeat. Because anyone who's generating 250 cycles a week, all they've done is you share, they share, over and over and over again.
And they found one person or 2.
And the cool thing is, in our plan, the networker that I was referring to in this model doesn't have to be somebody that you find. It could be somebody on your team to which you're financially connected that you don't even know 1,000 levels down, that finds that one person who is an experienced networker who is just, they get it. They have incredible product experience, they get busy, they want to share, they're excited, and they light it up. Well, how many people do you need in this compensation plan, really? You need 2, one on the left and one on the right. So that person doesn't even have to be somebody you know. They don't have to be someone that you brought into your team. It can be someone on your team 1,000 levels down. Guys, you got to get that. So Ellen has a question. No, what happens is Isagenix will look at your trajectory, Ellen. They're going to look at your trajectory, and typically at 200 cycles a week, they're going to see consistency, they're going to see stability, they're going to see that you have a solid cycle. You're cycling solidly every week. And it typically happens around 200. They're going to say, okay, we want you to re-enter. Because they're looking at your trajectory. They're looking at how you've grown your business, and they know based upon your cycle growth over a period of time, that 250 is just, it's coming. It's going to be within the next few weeks. It's always our decision whether we want to re-enter or not. Okay? Here's the thing about re-entry. So let me explain it first before we get to that piece. So what happens at re-entry, right? You've worked hard, you've built 2 teams in your first position. You're at 250 cycles, and you're in the computer, those 2 teams collapse. So these 2 teams form one team. Okay? So now, remember, we have to have 2 teams. Even in your re-entry, you need 2 teams. Your first 2 teams in your first position, they collapse. The computer says, okay, they're one team now. That one team is generating 250 cycles. That's going to continue to grow because as far as everybody in your downline is concerned, nothing's changed. It's changed for you because the computer has collapsed your two teams. It's really quite astonishing. So Kathy calls you and says, I want you to re-enter, like she did with Jimmy. Jimmy said, I don't want to re-enter. I'm already making enough money.
Because I want you to make more.
Jimmy, we want you to re-enter. And here's why. Here's why. Hey, Lauren. Here's why it's great for the company. These 2 teams collapse. You re-enter above yourself, right? And now you as a business builder, you need 2 teams, right? Well, the computer says, well, these combined 2 teams in your first position are a team. You're left in this model. And you build a new team. You're right. Well, this is what happens. You need 600 BV and you need 300 BV to cycle, right, on 2 teams. Well, the computer says, well, wow, there's lots of 600 BV on your collapse team. There's 250 cycles worth of 600 BV. Now what happens, you don't have to really think about this anymore. You're paying attention to your re-entry. Right? This still continues. This has a life of its own. The 250 cycles actually grows because your team is going to continue to grow because there's all this activity in your first position. And your re-entry, you're building one team. So everybody goes on one team. So what happens? You're going twice as fast because you only have one team to build.
Everybody benefits.
And everybody benefits from what happens on that one team. So here's the math, and I know this is where, because I've gotten this question a million times, right? So in order to figure out your 6% commission in your first 2 teams, you have to create 900 BV in order to create a cycle, right? You have to generate 900 BV to create a cycle. So 900 BV divided into $54, 54.00, $54, that's 6%. That's where your 6% commission comes from. When you re-enter, you're building one team. So every 300 BV that you generate, the computer says there's lots of 600 over here, remember? So you divide 300 BV into a cycle value of $54. And guess what? That 6% becomes 18%. So 300 divided into 54, you can do it on your calculator, or I did it longhand here, the old-fashioned way, so you could see it visually, is 18%. A lot of people, you guys, in Isagenix don't get this. So you're building one team. You're still helping your teammates in your first position, but you're building one team, so you're going twice as fast. And you're making 3 times the commission. Instead of 6%, you're making 18%.
All the enrollments for the entire team go down one line.
Yep. All the enrollments on your re-entry position, your re-entry wholesale account, go down one leg. It's really quite extraordinary. And you've probably heard Lynn and I say this before. how we coach and train on structuring your team in your first position essentially mimics what happens in a reentry position. Right? So over here, back to your first position.
Hey, Mark, and
Yes.
where else can you make 18%?
Yeah, where else can you make 18?
Yeah, where else can you make? You're right, Julie.
I mean, like 18% in the market, like there's no 18% return on investment in the market.
No,
And
not
it's not residual.
not even close.
Thank you.
It-
Good luck getting that in the stock market.
It's not residual, and
And it has risk.
it has lots of risk associated
Giant
with it.
risk.
That's a great,
Thank you. All of it.
great
The
point.
other thing, Mark, I don't know if you touched upon is how our volume stays.
It doesn't flush.
It doesn't flush. And I mean, every time when my other networking company, at the end of the month, I lost all my volume.
Right. So
That's huge.
when we were talking about this, right, in your left team bank and your right team bank, your volume it's always incrementing. The only time you take anything away from it is when you cycle.
That's because you're getting paid.
Because that's because you're getting paid, right? So whatever remains after cycles have been deducted, it stays there forever. It stays there until you use it. Rachel, so you get paid 250 cycles a week on the combined side plus the cycles on your reentry. Yeah, exactly.
So you're double dipping.
Yeah, so here's something I want to just toss in here. 250 cycles a week, you guys, times $54 is $702,000 residually. Okay? Now, I would suggest that most people could live pretty comfortably on $700,000 a year residually. You might have to suffer here and there. Maybe you can't have ice cream every night, but for the most part, you can get by. Your first position is has a total value of between 700 and 2,000 and 1,000,004. And I always wait because I love, like, when someone asks me the question, because I asked the question because that made no sense to me. Why is it worth between 700,000 and 1,000,004?
Does anyone else wonder that?
Does anybody else wonder that? Has anybody else ever wondered that? No? I'm the only one? Okay. Here's the thing, and it's why being paid as executive is so important. The difference between 700,000 and 1,000,004, because each position is worth a maximum of 1,000,004. Residually, that's a boatload of money. The reason there's a difference, the reason it's double, is because when you're paid as executive, Isagenix gives you another bonus, which is called an executive match. So being paid as executive is not just a nice to have, you guys. It's not just a nice to have. It's not just a milestone you hit and say, what?
Leaving money on the table.
Yeah, you're leaving, as Lynn said, from afar, you're leaving money on the table.
You're leaving 700,000 on the table.
You're leaving 700,000 on the table, Taylor just said. So how does that work? So if you're paid as executive, you have 5 consultants on your left, 5 on your right. And let's say best case scenario, each of those consultants become executives. They max out their first position. So here's how the math works. If each maxes out their first position, you have 10 executives, 250 cycles per executive, right? So what's 10 times 250? 2,500. What's 10%, which is your executive match? What's 10% of 2,500? 250. 250 times 54, that's the difference between 702,000 and 1,000,004. Huge, huge. So what typically happens in talking to other leaders, once you max out your first position at 700,000 and you move to your reentry, that 700,000 continues to grow, even though you're focused on your reentry. Does that make sense? Because your team doesn't know anything's changed. Nothing's changed for them. They're still busy doing what they're doing, which is sponsoring, enrolling, and getting people paid and rank advancing. So there isn't any place in this compensation plan. I mean, I could talk about it all night, a little bit longer than I wanted to already. There isn't any place in this compensation plan that it isn't just brilliant. Yes, Rachel? Hang on a second. Okay. Hey.
I'm on mute now. A quick question, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm following you because you've done this a few times with me, and I get excited every time you explain it. When you go back to the when you combine the two
Yes.
diagram,
Yes.
and when you combine it, when you get 250 cycles, so you paid on 250 cycles, which is like 13,500 around that. Okay. When you re-enter above, and and every time you hit 300, you cycle again, correct?
Correct.
What is that up against? Like, what are you cycling against? Like, in other words, it's always 600 and 300,
right,
and you make a cycle. So when you on the other side, when you hit 300, what is that up against? It's up against the combined?
It's a great question, because the computer is looking for, it's got multiples of 300 on your new team, right?
Right.
Looking for increments of 600.
Right.
Well, you're already cycling 200, somewhere between 200 and 250 times in your first position.
Correct.
So the computer says, "Oh my God, look at all this volume in your first business center. There's 250 cycles worth of 600 BV increments. So it's taking 600 BV from your first business center."
Okay.
Right? So 250 times 600, you've got 250 units of 600 in your first business center.
Okay.
Right? And then it says, okay, I have all the 600 increments I need here in this combined business, these combined teams. All I need is 300 over here. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay. Does that make sense?
I was thinking of it a different way. I just was never cleared on that part of the equation of the compensation plan.
Well, and so does that make sense, Rachel?
I just thought, personally, I thought that when you re-entered onto a new position, the 250, you constantly got paid on that 200. You do, but I just understand that every time you cycle 300, it was pulling. I thought it was up against with the company, 600 with the company, but it's 600 with your combined leg.
Well, essentially, you can look at it as if you're double dipping.
That's what. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to wrap my brain around that part.
The company is paying you 250 times 900 BV, 600 from one team, 300, multiples of 300 from the other in your first position.
Does that make sense?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes.
Right. So you've got 150,000 BV from your 2/3 team and 75,000 BV from your 1/3 team every week in your first position.
Correct.
Right. So 225,000 BV a week is what creates 250 cycles. It's what allows you to max out your first position. Right. That goes another level into the math. But just think of it this way. You have all the 600 BV increments you need, because Isagenix, in their generosity, allows you to count those 600 again when it goes to match the 300 in your first position.
Wow.
Okay.
It's so incredible.
It's astonishing, really. And here's another. We're almost at the top of the hour. I'm sorry, you guys. It took longer than I wanted to. But here's the amazing thing about this. In your first position, right? So, Rachel, let's say this is you, right? There are other people above you, up to us, and then on above us. And anyone who's in a position to earn income, they put themselves in a position to earn income, they're going to get paid all the way up to the company, all the way up to Isagenix, right? What's brilliant about reentry, and it's why
they're going to benefit from everything Rachel does in the first position.
Say that again?
They're going to benefit from everything she's doing here. Everyone above her gets
Right.
BV.
So everything, Rachel, that you're creating on your team benefits everyone else above, all the way up to the company, right? Who have put themselves in a position to be paid.
Joni, Carol,
Keep in
Cindy.
mind that only 82% of the company earns income. Everybody else is happy customers.
Gotcha.
Because I asked that question. So here's the amazing thing. So that volume, there are people being paid commission all the way up, like Joni, Cindy, Jimmy, all the way up to the company. What happens in reentry and why this is so incredibly valuable, Susan Sly said it last week. It's the first time I've ever heard anybody say it. The reason why our cycle value, $54.11, is so incredibly strong, why we don't have to worry about it, why it's rock solid, it's never going to change, is because of reentries. Because here's the difference, right? When you open a reentry position, the next stop for all this volume is Isagenix corporate. So all this volume that you're creating with your new team, right? After you, it's corporate. So there's all this volume that they're not paying commission on.
That's going into a pool.
That's going into a pool that keeps the $54.11 absolutely rock solid stable.
Brilliant.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant.
It's so fiscally brilliant. It blows my mind when I first learned that.
So the bottom line is the more reentries we have, the stronger the company.
Correct.
Exactly. Brilliant.
Yes.
Exactly. And so what you all have to know that's so incredible about all this, first of all, yay! Good job, Mark. But also what helps, this information is so valuable because what it tells you is the company is going to grow so fast. There's such a giant wave coming for all of you. You're going to be order takers soon. But what is so cool is it doesn't matter how many more people jump into this company and become business builders. This plan is so brilliantly designed that it is rock solid stable. It's as stable as these products are. As good as these products are for your body is as good as this compensation plan is for your future and your children's future. It is better than anything we have ever seen. It blows us away daily. And that's what we wanted you to know tonight. It's like, yay, what a blessing this plan is for everyone. So
because the math, like the structure, the how it's conceived, how it's architected, how it's built, how it's run, how it's managed is just flawless across the board. So now that I'm fired up, you guys ready for another hour?
Say goodnight, Gracie. We love you guys. We'll do this anytime. If you want to just have a hack out session and dig into the plan, we get it completely. And we love it so much. It had to be good to take us.
It had to be great.
We had to know it was that good for us to walk off the street for it. And we're just telling you, it's that good. And anytime you want to hack it out, we're here to do it. We love you guys so much.
And it's why Jimmy says, the only way that you can fail at this is if you quit. Because somewhere in your downline, someone's going to show up that's going to light it up. You don't even know who they are. They're going to change your life.
And just know that everything you're doing, all the work you put in, all the hours you put in, the tireless, the mental journey you go through, this plan is here to set your future and your family's future on fire, and you guys can do it.
And speaking of on fire, when you really, I hope this helps.
We have to go.
I know, we have to go. When you really get this, your hair catches on fire. That's why I don't have any left.
Good night, all. We love you so much. Take care.